While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm Julia.
And I am Nick.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab. Welcome back to another episode. This episode is completely unstructured. We had finished our previous episode quite quickly, so we thought we'll wing it. We've got a little bit of extra time in the pod lab, so we'll wing it and try and squeeze in an episode that's kind of general business, what's happening in the market.
Yeah, general business, what's going on. We're in 2024. We're ramping into this new boom. What's this all about? And let's try and sift through and get some information out there for you guys, what's actually raw going out, in the industry, what we're experiencing, a little bit about us, what we've done, during this time as well, just general business shit. See if you guys actually like these type of content. Might be something we can continue on in the future. Let's roll with that then. Okay.
So the first thing we've mentioned, I think once or twice now, both Nick and I have finished our mortgage broker degrees.
Yes.
Can't use them.
I'm officially, what's the word?
A mortgage broker.
No, not that.
A degree holder.
Yeah. So like, I'm officially literate.
Both of us completed our degrees.
Thank you, GPT.
Facts. But neither one of us can really use it because it would be a conflict of interest with our business model. Yeah.
Conflict of interest because obviously we run Mr. A. So what it's really done, honestly, is just given us that a lot more information behind the scenes about understanding mortgage brokers, understanding banks and policies and how it's all structured, about their risk management, about what compliance they need to do. So much of that was compliance compared to actually like figuring out how much you can borrow. Mm-hmm. That's the easier part because a lot of it's based on different calculators and what some finance brokers, depending on what aggregators they're using, allows what type of lenders they have on the market. So we have a lot more of that insight in the background, which is fair enough that the aggregators didn't want to take me or Julia on because of that conflict of interest. It can be a bit confusing where a client's coming in and, catching up with us about the houses and all that, and then all of a sudden we're talking about the finances. Even though we have their best interests at heart and would explain it all, it is fair enough. It's a risk management component, which we'd learnt about. So we're like, no qualms. It is what it is, which gives us more time, to be honest, to actually just
focus on our clients.
We're working with some exclusive brokers that work with us, and obviously it's good because then I can have a conversation with them, same as Julia, about certain methods or anything like that we need to worry about. But it's just good for you guys as clients as well, knowing that we are the only builder broker group that is actually out there that I'm aware of, and there's quite a few of them now copying our shit. None of them are fucking qualified. They don't have a degree in finance, in mortgage brokering.
I've got a degree in real estate as well, so I've kind of done all the studying.
But so much conflict of interest because of what we're doing. It's just good to have the knowledge, do you know what I mean? And it's just a little bit more of reassurance for you guys, like we know what the fuck we're doing. And that's what we're all about. It's just getting all that info. So then when you're sitting there going, why is the bank doing this or why is this doing that? We'll be having chats with our broker, but then we might be able to simplify things because that is a big thing of what I do. Rather than all these fancy terms and shit, it's just, hey, this is what it's all about.
I remembered something.
What?
Small, I don't know how to put it, mildly offensive. Mildly offensive was the tail end of the degree, which was the Grow Your Business unit, which basically, as a mortgage broker, once you're qualified, you are then trying to join a group or start your own business. and you are trying to find someone to give you leads, essentially.
Business or generate your own business, like what we do, a self-generated business.
So it then, talks about how to grow your business, which Nick and I, at this point in time, we're 8 years into running Mr. Enthusiast. We've kind of walked into it a little bit confident, kind of going like, okay, like we could work this out.
Julie's like a bit confident. Here's me, fucking Conor McGregor, walking my way in, going, "I'll show you how I run my fucking business." And yeah, they shut me down so fucking hard. Going, so basically, we were just utilizing a lot of the things that have obviously worked with Mr. Enthusiast, with the social media and how we generate a lot of word of mouth referrals, which is a huge part of our business.
Yep.
This and how we liaise with developers and builders and generating clientele. And we're relaying that into a finance perspective that is relevant for the brokering. And they just shut me the fuck down. They shut Julie down because we were talking about it together.
Yep.
They shut us down. They're like, "Nah, you need to be fucking writing letters to everyone and sending emails." I'm like, who the fuck in this day and age just reading that shit? If I saw a brochure, I'd fucking scrunch it up or use it to wipe my ass fucking half the time. So anyways, we did end up finding out how they wanted to do it and we got it done. But yeah, 100% agree. Like that really pissed me off, that marketing bit, and that's the thing is like we've done. I feel like we've done pretty good. We've now got a podcast and we're doing all this shit, and it's like, fuck you, man. I think I know what I'm doing, and this does work. And they're sitting there going, "No, that doesn't work." I'm like, bro,
social media is
get the
not
fuck
the way.
out of. Just what? Just how about you actually get away from under the rock? Because like they're obviously living under a rock, man, or some sort of shit. Like
very archaic methods.
Time to adapt to the times.
Very offensive.
TikTok dances all the way. No, go on. All right. That's enough bitch seshing.
Okay, so the next part, I guess, that's kind of like been happening recently, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, but I think it's becoming more and more prevalent now, is the housing shortage, the rental market being absolutely mental. Like there are lines of people trying to get into a rental.
There's hundreds of people going to the same viewing. It's scary shit.
Prices of homes are increasing, and I think
Phenomenal.
people are getting scared. People are getting confused. What is happening? The bank rate.
Interest rate.
Thank you. Interest rates are increasing. Like, it is so confusing for
people to try and navigate.
Yeah, people to understand what's going on. So let's break it down. How does an interest rate affect the housing market or your borrowing capability?
Yeah.
And then I've pulled up the Reiwa website.
We'll get a couple statistics which people, when we get there, sit the fuck down for this, because it is actually quite mind-blowing and quite scary to think about when we start explaining what the current market looks like and then what's available and why it's driving the prices.
Okay, so let's talk about
interest rates. So interest rates obviously have been absolutely mental for the last 2 years, where they've been soaring at a ridiculous rate when we were told that they weren't. And basically, rule of thumb, guys, not financial advice and all that shit, but simple math here. Interest rate goes up, your borrowing goes down. When the interest rate goes down, your borrowing goes up. Now, if something to keep in mind, this is based on what the Reserve Bank does first, and then what the actual banks themselves, the lenders, what they do to follow. What we have seen when the rates were going down during the COVID times, the Reserve Bank was dropping the interest rate, right? The bank cash rate, whatever. Let's say it dropped 0.25, but we were noticing some of the banks weren't passing on the entire 0.25 rate. They were only dropping, 0.2 or 0.15. But in terms of it as a borrower, whenever their interest rate from the bank perspective was dropping down, that would allow the applicants to be able to borrow a little bit less because those repayments were lower. So that means you could do more repayments and the borrowing could be higher. And vice versa, when it goes up, that means what you can borrow is decreased, because that means that more of your income is going into the mortgage rather than into additional expenses or expenditures. So that's the part that's going on. So we're in 2024. We're quarter one. Technically, it's classified as like end of March, beginning of April. Fuck knows when this episode actually comes out, but we're talking end of March here when we recorded this. There's 2 days of March left. So basically, quarter one's basically done, and we have seen it being quite a bit more level. Like Stationary. It hasn't gone up. It hasn't gone down yet. The word that has been going around is that at some point, hopefully end of 2024, mid 2024 or early 2025, potentially there may start to be a bit more potential decrease in the interest rates. How that affects with the banks, if they decide to pass them on, is something that we're all going to experience together and see what happens. But it cannot continue the way it is because it is just affecting people's lives so much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that side done. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about with the general business before we get into the Reiwa side about the statistics, right, is we are basically in a building boom 2.0, right? And the way I like to try and explain this has been building up for a while. So we had the COVID boom, which was about the grants. Everyone came out the woodworks. The interest rates, dropped considerably. There was so much land around and everyone grabbed and snatched up. And then we had so much, the builders took on too much and struggled to get trades, struggled to get materials. And, we're still seeing now in 2024, 2-3 year construction builds. It's fucking wild, right? What's happened, and there were many people that saw what was happening, so they held off. And now, a couple of years in, everyone's thinking, cool, things have seemed to simmer down. A lot of builds are doing 10 to 12 month constructions. Like, it seems to be okay. Builds have been going up, but not at a considerable rate as they were in the beginning, which obviously we have done in previous episodes with Levita, with the GM, with Matt Bowes.
Yeah, and guarantees are now back in place. A lot of builders are putting their guarantees in place, 12 month, 8 month, whatever.
Yeah, 12-month construction guarantees, and some of them giving price guarantees again. And now we're basically, what we've seen, especially guys since December 2023 into January 2024 moving forward, is just an enormous amount of inquiry coming into the building industry now, because what's happening is everyone's still in the established trying to secure land and properties, and there's just not enough fucking properties, and they're selling anywhere. We've seen some clients experiencing 50 to 100k above asking, some up to 150 onwards above asking, sight unseen on the first visit. It is insane. And what is happening is, we have been explaining to clients, is regardless of where things are at in WA, like especially in Perth, we cannot physically build enough homes to suit the amount of migration that's coming in and the amount of demand. Where last year we were 20,000 homes short over the next 3-4 years, and that is still showing. So what we're also experiencing on top of this is that the developers have, with additional costs and the land availability that they don't have enough land. They're not developing them quick enough for the demand, so that we're getting a lot of besides the investors, we'll get into all that shit, just what's actually available. We can't physically keep up with the amount of land that needs to be developed. Land's being delayed by, with Western Power and external sources. So there's so much that is putting more and more pressure into this industry. And now we're getting more and more inquiry on top of what was already existing. And this is what's creating the boom. Supply and demand. Very limited supply, enormous demand,
Yeah, so with the land, the 2020 boom came around, and developers land agents, developers, whatever you want to call them, they weren't prepared for the amount of inquiry that came in.
Yes.
So the land agents got to cherry pick the clients that they wanted to, send through, and they started rushing and, mass developing land in hopes that they could develop it quickly enough for the 2020 boom.
Yeah.
They then had all that land, and after the boom kind of settled down, everyone had a bit of breathing space, and everyone could go back to their original pace of developing the land. Similar to builders, where, builders had cut-off dates and had to, stop taking in new builds coming through because the administration team, the construction team, they couldn't keep up.
Yes.
And now we've had like a 2-year, 1.5 year kind of breathing space where the boom had kind of settled down and slowed down, and now we're back into that spot where, because everyone was developing land at a regular rate, now when all this influx comes in again, no one's prepared for it. So land is just vanishing before us.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more to it. So we actually had a bit of a conversation with Ryan from Kingsford, and he was helping to try and explain to people about the developments of lands and stages. Sometimes the creation of a new stage is 1 to 2 years, has to be planned and actioned prior to it actually being physically done. By the time you're going through, like, WAPC, getting all the approvals, the subdivision if required, the zoning for it, the development of it, the actual construction of it, the money portion as well, there's so much to it. So it doesn't just appear out of thin air. There's a lot of processes that come into place, and developers are trying to do what they can. And what we also saw was a lot of developers that had land for the next 2-3 years are gone. They're sold out. Like, the development's finished.
Yep.
Because of all of the demand from the 2020 boom. So it's just putting more pressure on what's available. And we're seeing clients, we've actually signed clients from south of the river moving north of the river, just where there's land available. And they're just going, fucking, it is what it is. It's my first home. I'll deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas normally, like, welcome to Perth, you're either a north or you're a south, and you stick to it, and that's it. It's like, it's an unwritten rule type of thing. Whereas now it's just, it doesn't matter if this is where there's land and I need a property I can't keep with my rental, and it's so uncertain with the rentals, everyone's selling up because of the market. It's just a wild time. It was unprecedented with the COVID. Welcome to 2024. Building boom, COVID boom 2.0 type of thing. There are a few saving graces though with this boom that is currently developing, right?
Okay.
And what builders are gearing up for. So the biggest thing that I like to try and explain to people is, yes, there is a shit ton of clientele, right? There's a lot of demand. We've got over East investors that are looking at Perth at the moment as a fire sale, 2 for the price of 1 in comparison for cost and equity growth. You've then got people migrating from over East coming to Perth, WA. So we're talking a lot more about Perth at the moment, guys, because Adelaide is also in their own fucking situation as well as most of Australia, but the main ones that we're dealing with. So you've got over East coming to Perth. You've then got the current WA market that is growing, that is also putting pressure, that are looking into the established. They've been looking for the last 6 to 12 months. This is a very, very common, discussion I'm having with clients, and they're going, fuck this, I can't get a property. Let's just look at building. It's going to be cheaper. So you're putting established clientele that weren't in the market, now they're added into the building market. Then you've got international migration, which has been just soaring through. There are a lot of trades, a lot of first responders, so much like emergency services, and some of them are getting some sort of government assistance as well towards new properties and rentals and stuff. So you're putting all of these additional pressures and demand into the current existing, which is already, like we were saying, we're already 20,000 homes short over the next few years on top of what's already projected to be built. So it's just everyone's fighting for the same thing. So that's why the land is drying up before people can blink. The statistics are trying to be so accurate, but they can't physically keep up with the demand. We're seeing developers, like we've had one with a client we've been working for the last 10 weeks. We're just trying to find land. She's ready to go. And we finally found the developer, had some land. It's selling in a week or two, gangster, like ready to go. And the price was 231, cool. And then we're like, hey, we need a block. Let's get one. And came back after about 10 days, 256. Yep. And I went off my fucking trolley. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it was 231. Here's the screenshot. Yeah, we've, due to the demand and all of that, we've repriced the land. We've also gone back to the buyers. If you want it, 256. Otherwise, catch you later. And you physically can't do anything. You either pay for it or you don't. It's, some people will sit and be like, this is fucking bullshit, this is extortion. But hey, you're asking someone to give you land. You haven't spent the money to develop it or done all the shit. So either you pay for it or the next person will.
And land agents aren't the only ones putting up the prices. No, builders are now doing the same thing as well.
100%. Where it always happens, there's a couple builders that normally start the trend.
Yes.
That are projecting what's going on, and they're still around. Some of them are quite big builders that have been around for a while. They geared up and they survived the first boom, and they're looking at what's going on. They're looking at the same statistics that everyone else is, but no one's really talking about it openly. And they're going, fuck this, we're going up. And we saw, we keep our finger on the pulse on a few people and a few companies, this and that. It's just, everyone knows someone from somewhere. And yeah, we got notified that some of the builders had gone up within a 48, 72 hour period, nearly 40K. And they're just gone, we're up. pay, take it or leave it. And it was like, let's say, for example, as a client, right, you meet this consultant, let's say on the Monday, by Friday, that same house went up 40K and you can't do anything about it. You're just like, what the fuck?
And there are multiple reasons for everyone going up.
Yeah.
For a
100%.
builder, it is in preparations for all the trades and for all the supplies going up.
Yep.
For some builders, it would be a reason to try and slow down traffic because they need to keep up with the current workload that they've got.
Yep.
I had another reason. I've completely forgotten it.
Okay, so there is definitely a lot. The pressure on suppliers is still increasing. We are going to grab. I love fucking grabbing Matt Bowes from Levada. He's fucking killer. He calls it as is, and he's really good for us to all get insight into a larger builder that start from something small, smashed it, and they have grown so exponentially, and to see how they're navigating through this new portion. Because they've gone up, everyone's gone up.
Yep.
And some of them that haven't, be prepared, guys. If you are signing with other builders that haven't gone up, they will. It's just a matter of when. Some of them are more proactive to do it up front and deal with it. Others you might get hit at contracts or a bit later down the stage.
Like we used to at 2020.
Yeah, in 2020. It's happening again. We're starting to see it. But anyway, so what's actually happening is these price increases from what we're being made aware of and what the evidence we've been provided, because I like to get given evidence of what the fuck's actually going on rather than just telling me, oh, your supplies went up. Tell me the numbers. Where? How? And some of the suppliers are ripping up contracts again. What we're giving, 30 days, 60 days, locked in prices, ripped them all up again. Every 2 to 3 weeks, they're going back up again because of this demand. There's other things externally that can affect the suppliers and what availability they have. So that demand is increasing again. So all of a sudden, the prices will go up. So some of it is in suppliers. Some of it is in a lot of the builders have a capping sales already. They have been. And they need to try and slow that down, like you were saying. So it might be a portion of that is to try and slow down clientele as well. They're limiting, changes. They're limiting, no longer doing custom design. So there's quite a bit affected into it, and they start gearing up now to prepare themselves. At the end of the day, if the builders don't need to go that far, they can always adjust the prices if it's not. But it's just something to think about with the whole costings.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you end up finding that extra item?
No.
Oh. What
That's
else?
Okay. That's all I've got. I've just got Reiwa up.
Okay. I think that's basically it's like the pricing is, going up. It will continue to go up. Maybe not as big of a rate as what it is, but it is definitely something for people to think about. Consultants, brokers, everyone is capping. What that means is that they can only do a certain amount of sales per month to try and limit the amount of pressure that will happen in the construction side and the administration for builders. A lot of builders have learnt their lesson from the COVID shit. They're seeing what's happening. They don't want a repeat of what's happening. So you're going to see across the board a lot more activity in denying business and pushing back on what they were normally a bit more lenient on. And it's just a matter of either you can fit into it or you can try and wait it out, but you don't know where the property prices are going to go and where the market's going to land.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of builders are really playing it safe, playing it cautious, because there was a lot of smearing of builders' names, a lot of really unhappy clients, and justifiably so.
100%.
But I think almost all the builders now are kind of treading on eggshells where they don't want to be in the firing line. They don't want to be in the spotlight for something negative because, I mean, they're still a business. They still have a business to run. They still want clientele to come through. So I think it is easier to turn away business and to say no than to say yes and be in a negative spotlight on the news. I think a lot of people are afraid of being smear campaigned, essentially.
Yeah, for businesses, but also we talk to clients all the time. Me personally, as a client, if I'm a first or second home buyer and I'm going into this, right, I would rather be told no if something can't be done and find a solution than be promised yes and then shit hits the fan for the next 3 or 4 years. And people are like that. So I think a lot of that, of what's happened and the experiences, and I think a lot of builders are starting to sit there and go, okay, cool, you know what? We did this path. This didn't really work. We've seen what's happened with some of them taking on too much. This is what we can do. This is what we're happy and comfortable with. We may change that case by case scenario. However, this is just what it is. And it protects the builders. It also protects the clients. And as a client, you know, you just got to navigate through, you know, sometimes sitting there and thinking over the next 6 to 8 to 12 weeks on what you want to do with the home. Absolutely take your time. However, be aware that the costings and all of that may not be reflected the exact same by the time you're ready. And it depends how the consultants and the builders are reflecting that information is what's key component for it. Like we tell clients, like, look, this is what it is at the moment. This is what we can do. If you come now, if you come later, we can reassess, but this is what it is. And that's just laying it straight up. Do you know what I mean? And we've had clients that'll come back in 10 days. Shit, it went up 15 grand. Like we said, guys, this is what we can do. This is what we've foreseen. Take it or leave it. And then others, they've been the exact same.
Granted, if we're actively working with a client, we have let them know, hey guys, we've just received the email.
Absolutely.
Price is going up in X amount of time.
Absolutely.
We don't want to rush you, just letting you know if you guys are kind of leaning towards the yes side, it's better to do it now than in 2 weeks' time, because in 2 weeks' time, the house has got to be an extra X amount of money.
And the only thing that's going to be different is that you're forking out the extra 15 versus doing it then.
Yep.
Depending on the circumstance. And we've done that. If we're notified and we're dealing with active clientele, 100%. Here's the copy of the email. This is what the breakdown. We've told clients. Some of them just went MIA. No qualms. Other ones are like, okay, shit, can we actually fit this in time? And we were in Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, with shit. And like we came back. I'm still fucking sick. We were recovering. Fuck it. Let's just try and see the clients, try and do what we can. And we did as much as we could. And we're still working with clients and advising what's going on. If we know something, you guys will be the first to know.
Yeah.
If we don't, we're all in the fucking blind together. And normally if I don't know, the builders don't know because we're all liaising very closely with each other. We have a good relations with everyone that we work with. We're not just sitting there going, what my hand's going, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like we all try and work towards this together.
Okay, so I'm going to shout out some comparables. So
All right.
in sales, properties listed for sale this week ending the 24th of March 2024, is 3,954. The same week last year, so the same week ending 24th of March, but in 2023, there was 7,335.
Fuck.
So it's a huge difference between what was on the market then versus now, or how many properties are listed on the market.
Yes.
And I would say I don't think it's because less properties are being listed. I think properties are going off faster because doesn't mean that this property, like only 3,000 went on listing this week. It's mean the amount of houses listed on Reiwa.com.
Yep.
And property sales, it's actually quite close. So this week, 1,073 homes have sold in a week versus this week last year, which was 978. So not a big difference. But I have gone back certain weeks, and the jumps are quite significant.
That's just wild because obviously you get so many properties that become listed and then get sold, and this is, you know, obviously like as accurate as Reiwa, who is the Real Estate Institute of WA, can try and be, which might be based on, you know, multiple different sources or their own sources. But I know personally that there's going to be land that is being sold outside of being listed and properties that aren't even listed yet that are being bought. Like we helped my brother before, you know, he ended up buying an established property 2 years ago. And, you know, I was working with one of the real estate agents where we were buying it. This house wasn't even listed yet. We just went in as a, you know, private viewing and we bought it on the spot. And then the owner obviously moved over 30 days. It wasn't even listed and it was sold. And this is still happening from 2 years ago. I can assure you it is happening now.
But also what to compare in these four statistics. So if we look at last year, there were 7,335 homes in the market and only 978 of them sold. Now there's 3,954 homes in the market.
Yes.
And a third of them have sold.
In a week.
So if we start looking at the comparable sales like that, it becomes a lot more scary because this time last year, 1 out of 7 homes sold versus now 1 out of 3 homes are selling within a week. Or at least statistically showing it like this. And it's quite similar with the rental market. It's very similar. This week, there are 1,841 homes in the market, and 643 of them have rented this week.
Jesus.
Versus last year, where it was 1,950 and only 665 rented.
Wild.
So the comparison of this time last year, where this is before there was a boom going on, obviously, but there was still a rental shortage. There was still a housing shortage. It's just spiking up in
demand and lower supply, and it's just getting worse. So like you think about, like, let's say there's 3,000 total properties, and that's not homes, guys. That's like a specific amount is homes, then there is units, then there is land. And even with the land, you know, you can dispute that because that's what's based on what's being advertised. That's not taking into account if developers have sold any that might have come back on the market or hasn't been released yet or hasn't been released on their websites. It's very hard to try and navigate where every single component is or everything available. But as a general thumb, it's pretty wild because you think about it. There is well and truly more than 3,000. Let's say, what was it, like 3,000 properties?
3,954.
Okay, let's say around the 4,000.
Around 4,000. Six homes short of 4,000.
I can guarantee you, hand to heart, that there is more than 4,000 people looking for a home.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So you start looking at, like we were saying, all the different pressures from overseas that are looking, the migrations, international, and all of us. You'll probably look like, from clients' experiences, what we're seeing is they're going to a house viewing anywhere between 30 to 100 people going into one, viewing or multiple viewings on the same day. Offers going well over 50, 100, 200K above asking. It is insanity. And people are just giving up after just going, these houses, they might need work, they might need renovations. And then, that's a whole different ballgame of fuckery as well with renovations. So it's putting so much pressure, and then they're just going, fuck, we'll go into the property.
Building industry.
Yeah, into the building, but then we don't have enough land. We don't have, and the builders are capping on what designs they want. So no matter which way you look at it, it's really difficult times. Adelaide has some different, obviously, statistics, but they've been in the same pressure, lack of land available, builders going up, builders still not handling what they previously had with a lot of the builders, the project builders out in Adelaide, and we're seeing that they're still taking 2-3 year builds, and we're coming in smashing them pretty quick, but we can only do so much because there's only such limited land, and they're in a very big demand as well with buyers, and there's just not enough supply. But what we're also seeing, guys, is that, is this going to happen just now? Is it going to disappear? The reality, when you really think about it, is this is only going to continue going. There have been dips, there have been ups and some downs along this way. It hasn't just been like a constant upward trend for, the property prices in Perth, for example. There have been parts where they've dipped a little bit, but the thing is the gradual is always an increase. And with this demand, we don't see it. I personally cannot see it slowing down. And a lot of people are like, we're going to get into a fucking economy is going to crash, this and that. There are a few parts of this. If shit hits the fan, right, and houses are cheaper, building becomes cheaper, that only benefits me as a building broker.
Yes.
Because I can build more fucking homes. So if I can eat my words, 100% I will, because I can help people. I can help more guys. I can build bigger garages for fucking cheaper. We're all on. The reality ain't going to happen. Why hasn't the properties dropped down from 10 years ago or from 8 years ago when we built? I had a photo I was going to post up on my Insta story of when a much simpler version of the Indulgence design that we had, the 4-car garage, when that was first launched in 2017 in May for $199,000.
Oh, that's wild.
And the house is now well over 400K.
Yep.
Doubled in price in 7 years, 2017. Wild. And people are like, why haven't they gone back from when yonks ago? They just don't. Properties over time develop.
That's why everyone says invest in property.
100%. Look, there's smart parts to it and negatives. But as a general rule of thumb, like, it's better to invest in a property than you were to, into a vehicle or something like that. Do you know what I mean? There's a much more broader market. More people would be interested into it, and in that side you can diversify, and potential like tax help and all that with rentals, blah blah blah. Another part with all of this is obviously, you've got all this pressure that's going on. Like it's only going to continually drive the price of properties because more people are selling. There's more availability, there's more people coming to these sales, which then means that, something we have seen, which is unorthodox and not something that I condone myself or yourself, Julia, is where real estate agents are pitting people against each other to get the best price, which I understand helps the seller to get a better price for their home when they're selling, but it's fucked for the buyers in the buyer's perspective because they're just trying to get a home. But because there's such little lack, literally clients are telling us, like, they're literally fighting against each other going, I'll put 50 above, I'll put 60, I'll put 80. And whoever gets the highest one, it goes to them.
Which I'm actually pretty sure is...
It's fucking illegal.
It's illegal.
Yeah, but how is someone going to find out? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
a
you
lot of the
can't prove
clients, that's the thing. Again, maybe hearsay, but if clients are physically going to these properties and that's what they're experiencing, they're going, fuck this, I'm just going to go build. It's something that people might need to understand. It is, we are being told it's happening. Then there's the fact, the other part is interest rates, right? So a lot of people, because the interest rates have gone up so much, they have been priced out of the market. If the rates drop, apparently it's meant to also help affect the price of the homes. It won't really affect the homes to drop them. It's only going to drive the price up when you think about it, because more people that are currently priced out of the market with the rate being dropped means that their borrowing capacity increases. They might re-enter the market, putting more pressure on those same people on the same market. So these are things you got to think about, like waiting things out sometimes might not be the best thing because you got to look at the overall picture of what's actually going on rather than just one or two things going. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. But if you just think, if I wait that, it's going to be better, ask so many people, man, like it just doesn't tend to do so. It's a really difficult time to try and navigate.
All right, I'm going to finish my statistics.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Fuck. I just went on a fucking tangent. Why don't you start me?
So median house price last year was 550K.
Yep.
This year it's 615. And they actually broke it down into 2 better, 3 better, 4 better.
Okay.
So the average median house price is 615. This is for Perth, WA. For a 2-bedroom house, it is 570. For a 3-bedroom house, it's 550. And for a 4-bedroom house, it's 678.
How does that work out? How is a 2-bedder worth more than a 3-bedder? Must be like apartments or something.
No, units are different.
Oh, units is different.
Yeah, it just says the 2-bedroom 570.
They might be on like established areas that are worth a lot more in the average area. That would
because not a lot of new homes are 2-bedroom homes.
No.
That's all inner suburbs.
Yeah, okay.
And rent per week has also jumped. So comparing on the trend, rent was on average. Oh no, that's sales. Fuck. Where's the rent? Where's the rent? Oh no, I've only got land. I don't have a comparable for last year, but rent now for a 2-bedroom home is $550 per week. For a 3-bedroom home, it's $595 per week. And for a 4-bedroom home, it's $680 per week for rent, which is essentially
what the fuck?
A mortgage.
That's a whole mortgage.
That's a whole ass mortgage. So
wild. For
the renters, I am feeling very, very sorry for right now.
Like, is there any? Can you dig up if there's anything for like around 2020, 2021 or anything like that? If there's anything there?
Sales, rent, I don't. It doesn't show me rent. It just shows me sales.
The rental difference? No.
Yes. I've got rental difference. So rent this time last year's $550 versus $640 median rent price.
So nearly $100 a week more in a year for rentals.
And if we jump back, it's done this curve where it was up in 2014.
Okay.
And then it started decreasing down as of 2015.
Yeah.
At its lowest, which was 2018, rent was $350 per week.
Oh.
And then jumping each year from 2018 up to now, it's gone $350, $360, $370, $420, $470, $550 up to now, which is $640.
Okay, so what are the dates? Let's go. The first boom that happened basically technically started around June when the grants came out in 2020. If we look at around August, December of 2020, what was the average mean rental? Because that was already starting to put a bit of pressure on the market.
Average rental was $370.
370 in 2020
2020.
December.
I can't see
Oh, okay.
months. It's
So-
just calculated by a year.
Oh, okay. And so since 2020, it was at 370,
Mm-hmm.
and now the average mean rental in Perth is, what was it?
640.
So that's nearly
$300 difference.
$300 a week. That's $1,200 a month in increase.
Yeah.
Holy
which is
shit!
crazy.
So
And that's for a house. Units are just under the price.
wow.
Like they're $10 to $20 shorter than house for obvious reasons.
A lot of it's just because of the location, because they're more city focused and shit like that, or like Bentley, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and to continue on the statistics, for the median days to rent, so you list your home
For
and
rent or for buy?
for rent. This is
Okay.
for rent.
Okay.
The median amount of time that it would take for your house to rent. So you put
Yeah.
it on the market, and
Yep.
in X amount of days, it's in
You'll get
someone
tenanted.
else.
Yep.
So in 2023, for a house,
Yes.
oh no, that's. Oh yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Julie's got a bit of technical issues over here.
The median days is 35. Is that correct for rentals? Oh no, sorry, listings. Sorry, got it. The median amount of days it takes to rent out is 8 days
To rent.
to rent it out. So
So-
you put it on the market in 8 days
So as soon as it's on the market, within 8 days, it's tenanted
as an average.
as an average.
As an average.
Wow.
That is in December 2023 compared to say December 2023,
You just said
2024, 2022.
2022. So a year before that.
A
Okay.
year before that, it would have been 16 days.
Okay.
And it goes backwards up until March 2020. So if I go from March 2020,
Okay.
so right before the building boom
So that's when COVID officially happened.
yeah.
That's
So
when the shit show began.
right before it began, it took 49 days to
To get a rental.
get a rental.
Yeah. To get a tenant for a rental
Yep.
that you've marketed. So that's 49 days.
49 days.
So basically a month and a half.
A month and a half to
that
get a rental.
You'd be sitting there with an open property waiting for someone to try and throw an offer at you.
And
Okay.
then right after the boom, it's jumped significantly. It's gone from 49 days to 28 days within a month.
Yep.
And then it's dropped down to 16 days by March 2021. So within a year, it like significantly increased. So from 49 days on the market, it's gone to 16 or 14 days on the market.
Holy shit.
And then it's kind of just stayed at that 14 day and just slowly
And so
trajected down. Yeah.
Wow. What about properties like house listings? That's probably a really good one, because most clients are like, by the time they see the first listing, it's gone.
That I don't think I've got that.
No?
No, I don't.
That's all right.
I don't have that one.
That's a shame. That would have been pretty cool to see, like a time frame of like how quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have a thing of how long it takes.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's all right. It is what it is.
Well,
That's a shame. That would have been pretty cool to see, because I reckon it. Yeah.
Well, you sprung this idea on me like 5 minutes before we recorded. It's a good indication though to show.
I've got something here. Median selling days. So the average median selling days, you're looking at, so median selling days, listings. Okay, cool. So this only does a comparison for a year. So this is only based from March 2023 versus March 2024, right? You ready for this, guys? The median listing, like selling days, from the moment it's on the market, March 2023 was roughly about 14 days on the market, so 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
However, now in March 2024, you're looking at 8 days.
Yep.
As an average. And the amount of listings was roughly about 5,500 this time last year. And now there's about 2,000. Wild. It's literally halved. Everything's halved.
Crazy statistics.
Holy shit.
So I guess
This might have been a little bit more of a fucking depressing episode after listening to all that shit. It's just, people need to know. Like, the info needs to go out there.
I guess this has been a bit of a spit yarn from us, just to kind of let you guys have a look into our brains and what goes in our minds every day when we go to work, what the kind of things that we're thinking about and the things that we're dealing with and trying to navigate through. Yeah. Just like everyone else that is looking to buy a house, whether it's buy building, buy it through established, whatever it is a really difficult time to get into the property market right now because it's so hard to navigate for new home buyers who don't know what they're looking for.
100%. Even people, like we've had some questions of people re-entering the market as well that have been away from the market, you know, and now going, I'm ready for something.
It's changed.
It's so changed. There's only so much you can do, and we're getting a lot of clients that feel, you know, if they're not acting now, then they might not actually be able to afford a home. It's a very hard time, and it's very hard to navigate. At the end of the day, like we've always said with everyone, reach out, let's figure out what the finances look like, let's see what we can or can't do, and we can work towards creating a plan. If it's not something you can do right now, it might take you a bit of time, and let's just work towards it. You don't know until you've actually sat down for a conversation to see where it's at, but it ain't going to get easier. I think that's the biggest part. Like, moral of the story, with all the shit that's happening, guys, shit's not going to get easier. It's only going to get harder. It's going to phase a lot more people out that are on lower income, that might not be earning a lot more. It's just going to get tougher. And, you know, if you're able to achieve home ownership as a first home buyer or second home buyer, it's a really big achievement. It's been quite easy over the years to obtain that because of the costs. And it's more expensive and it's more harder, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Many people are still doing it.
Yeah. And we'll get Matt on to an episode sometime soon and just have a spit yarn with him and talk about what's going on in the market. And just have a little bit more of an insight from a builder's point of view.
Yeah, I definitely want to start digging about this coming, you know,
Boom 2.0.
Boom 2.0, you know, building boom 2.0, about how they're gearing for it, what are they doing and why, and what they're currently experiencing, to try and get that information, because it's one thing from our point of view, it's another from the builder's point of view. So we definitely want to get that in.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Matt, whenever you're listening to this, expect a phone call.
All right, let's plug.
Cool.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, website, Google, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.
Yes.
If you can leave a rating or a review, that would be amazing. It really helps us in the back end.
Definitely.
And just remember, guys, we're not here
to fuck spiders.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.